You know, it's interesting. Over the last 6 months or so, many people try to put us together on the same stage. We have connected, Eyal and myself, in many occasions, in many private or more smaller sessions, but this is the first time that they managed to put us together on stage. So I guess some credit goes to Benny Moran and...
When you say they, it's you. I mean, I came because you asked me to come, not because of anyone else, so you can take the credit.
Thank you very much, and honored to have you with me here on stage. Our idea, by the way, was to have a conversation. So we are going to speak with each other. Let's see how this works. And Eyal, first of all, really congratulations for having been awarded the most prestigious award in Israel. Which I believe, and everybody else does apparently, is 100% deserved. What does it mean to you, having been awarded with this prestigious award?
So first, it's a lot of respect. I'm very proud to have achieved this award. I'm sure Danielle would have been very proud as well. And I think it means a lot. It's an accomplishment of your life doing. And being awarded as for innovation and entrepreneurship in Israel, I think it's even more challenge because if you see all of the entrepreneurs, I think you're in a very big competition, so I'm very proud to have received this.
You mentioned Danielle, so I'm already with tears in my eyes. You know, we'll go back to this later. We have entrepreneurs here in the audience. What do you want, what do you recommend them to accomplish over the next, say, 25 years so that they qualify to the 2048 Israeli Award of Life Achievement in the area of entrepreneurship and innovation? What do they have to do? What do you recommend that they accomplish?
So I think there's a number of very important things. The number one is the people. It's all about the team, it's all about the people, and it's your responsibility to get the right team. The number two is be professional and execute. There's no excuses. For example, now, through this operation, you should never come up to your investors or to your customers and say, because of the operation that's going on in Israel, we have missed this timeline, we've missed this product with this. There's no excuse. We just execute and execute the best we can in all circumstances. Just as an example, at Mellanox, we've raised $56 million on October 11, right after September 11. So there's no excuse, just continue executing. And number three, build a very healthy company. And when I say healthy, it starts with integrity. It starts with being fair inside the company, being fair to your customers, to your vendors, to your investors, and so on. Be very open, be very straightforward, and execute the best you can. That's the best thing you can do.
You know, Danielle is not with us now. Was she related or connected, or was she, involved in your day work, in your business dealings, and so on? This was just about father and daughter.
No, she worked at Mellanox at HR for I think 3 or 4 months, and she always felt she's not doing a good job. But I think she was okay.
What would she have said if she were here to congratulate you on this prize?
I think she said, "I'm proud."
Well, we are all proud of you. You deserve a big round of applause just before we go on. And I should say, Eyal, that you really represent all of us in getting that award. I don't know if you are going or not going to shake his hands, but if you do, that's also fine. But really, getting that award...
I don't think he's going to come. He still said he's not going to come.
All right, you know. But if he does, send him our regards and tell him that we hope that the democracy works in our next elections whenever they come in. But this is not about politics, so we are going to move on. So, Eyal, these are challenging times, as you mentioned. We are in the midst of a war still. What is still your outlook for the upcoming future? You know, take a look at the next decade. What is into it for the Israeli high tech?
I think Amir has showed that every time after we have an operation, the Israeli economy bounces back. And as we've all noticed, Israel economy is very resilient, very robust, and we're executing. Even under an operation that we're doing now, I can tell you that NVIDIA had more than 700 employees in reserve duties for over like 2 months. More than 700 employees, and that's a lot. So what we need to do is, again, put our heads down, put your eyes on the ball, and just execute, bring the products out, keep innovating. I think there are investors that realize that now could be a good time to invest in Israel in anticipation of the end of this operation in the next, I hope, 2-3 months. And then the economy will rebound again, and I hope we'll see growth both on the technology side and the other parts of the Israeli economy, and then everybody will enjoy the market going back up. So I think it's a good time to invest. I think the entrepreneurs can raise money now. Maybe you'll need to have a short down round, but just get whatever funds you need to continue and execute.
And because this is a conversation, I will add my own 2 cents on this. I think we have no other option. I mean, we need to execute. This is all upon us. As there is mentioned, the high-tech people took responsibility for whatever happened in Israel during 2023. It is our responsibility. There is nobody else that will carry this on. So I'm speaking to all of us here, founders, employees, entrepreneurs, providers of value-add services, investors, and so on. You know, this is our duty to take this on. There are no excuses that we could use, and no reason to use excuses. We have to keep building and producing good products, services, breakthrough technologies. This is on ourselves, isn't it?
Yeah. So what are the areas you think people should focus, and what technologies people should look for the coming years to invest and execute on?
Wow. So as an investor, and you are an investor as well, I wish I had the right answers to that. That would have made our lives easier. But, you know, obviously AI, artificial intelligence, is big and still up and coming. So we all have to be focused on what can be utilized from the perspective of science and research into real businesses being built on top of AI technologies. As we all want to build great companies like Eyal's and Mellanox, this is not only about utilizing great technologies, this is about building big businesses on top of them. So obviously AI is a platform that we all have to pay attention to. I'm very much hopeful in the new areas of precise agriculture, climate tech related technologies. There are a number of promising Israeli companies as well in those areas, and I hope to see more and more of them. And I think that we will, because the world problems, the global problems are significant in those areas. And in addition to that, also obviously the medical arena, for which we saw here today a sample of excellent companies with excellent technologies and science. So I think I just gave examples, and the good thing about these examples is that they are probably 50% accurate, and the rest will unfold as we move on, because, you know, this is so exciting, and there's so many bright people, so many savvy, brave entrepreneurs and investors who are willing to fund those crazy ideas. So I'm sure that when we sit here 10 years from now, the outlook will look different, but still very promising.
If I can add maybe 2 or 3 things. First, I think defense is becoming very important. And when you say defense, it's just not just artillery or tanks and that, it's also cyber. It's also, by the way, quantum computing, which I think is the next. If you look at what we're doing today with supercomputing, and Mellanox and NVIDIA were the first to build the largest supercomputers in the world. The next generation of the largest computing platforms will be quantum computing. It's going to take probably 10 years to get there, but this is definitely a place that you can look into. And the underlying on top of everything is what you can do with all of the computing and storage and data. So if you focus on one thing, is utilizing data. Data is the most important, the most precious resource you have on the planet. The more you can utilize the data, the more smarter you get, the more you can make money and do better for the world, do better for your companies and so on. So data is the very important thing to look into.
Agreed. Data is kind of the new platform, and we are going to see many exciting businesses and opportunities based on data and the usage of data.
And always also go down to physics. I think to move data, if you go down to electrons, to protons, to photons, you'll be able to make more money. And if you have unique ideas of how to, transmit gigabytes or terabytes of data faster and lower latency, you'll also be able to make more, not just software, but also the hardware. So I think the people before said, the hardware guys said they're in Golani and that, so I'm in Golani. And the software guys said that they're in intelligence, so just be in Golani and do more hardware stuff.
I was a paratrooper. Where does this place me? They didn't mention paratroopers, right? Kind of humiliating, but anyway, a lot of credit to Golani. By the way, we decided to open this for a few questions, so I'm taking the risk now that nobody cares and nobody will ask questions, but please be prepared. We are still having a conversation. In about 3 or 4 minutes, we are going to ask you if you have anything to ask of any of us, so get ready for that. So Eyal, big breath. We both experienced a terrible tragedy on October 7th, you and I, as did many other families around the country. What is the most important lesson that you personally drive out of your personal tragedy on October 7th?
So, first, I don't really think we understand how this happened to us. And why did October 7 or, the night between October 6 and October 7 happen, and how did we let this happen? There were so many mechanisms that did not work. There are so many, methodologies that did not execute on October 7 that we just messed up in an unbelievable way, and too many people paid with their lives, too many people were injured, and too many people are now post-traumatic because of October 7th. So what I don't understand, what I ask, and what we need to fix is make sure, and it's not the first time it happened in Israel, it also happened in the Yom Kippur War in '73. So one of the things that I'm taking out of this, both personally and nation-wise, is we should not trust the system, and we should always ask questions. We should always understand that we have the right people at the right places with the right, fear of failure and not feeling in vain. I think the heads of Shabak, of intelligence, of the IDF, of the South Command, the Minister of Defense, the Minister of Internal Defense, the Prime Minister, all of them felt too comfortable on what they felt to leave Gaza as a safe place for everybody, and they left too few resources there with no means and no intelligence, and we all paid the price. So the one thing that I take out of this, and this is also what I've done in Mellanox, and I'll tell you this about in a few seconds, is never trust anyone and check everything all the time with whatever you can. At Mellanox, and I think this is something that also Tesla is doing, Elon Musk, we didn't trust anyone. So we've done everything ourselves. Everybody tried to sell this IP like PCI Express or memory interfaces or buffers or services and so on. And I said I didn't want to have Mellanox, and I'll give you an example in a second. I didn't want Mellanox to depend on any external resource, that our success will depend on any other third-party person. An example of that, we've done copper cables, simple copper cables. And everybody asks, why are you doing copper cables? There's no IP. It doesn't make sense that a technology company does. And I said, if we don't do good enough copper cables, the whole system will not work. There'll be too many errors, too many retries, too many repeats, and the whole performance will go down. And today, NVIDIA and also Mellanox, we've done hundreds of millions of dollars with copper cables. Today, NVIDIA is doing billions of dollars. And so we didn't depend on anyone. We did everything ourselves. I think this is something I want to take to and give to you guys. If your company depends on a third party in terms of executing, first, either you make sure they execute and you feel very comfortable if this is your IP and you check everything there to make sure it works, don't rely on anyone else, or decide instead of taking the IP from someone else, do it yourself. Even if sometimes it looks redundancy, you can get more advantages because you understand the bit of bytes of what's going on in this IP, and you can do it better than other people that are taking the IP as everybody else from this third party. So always know everything 100%, don't rely on anyone, and do everything yourself, or go into the details of what you get from the third party and make sure like it's your IP.
And I would have to add, take responsibility for whatever is happening around you and for whatever is happening under your realm. You should take personal responsibility and make sure that everything checks and works. Anybody wants to ask us any question? Yes, sir. Guy, please.
Hi. So thanks for being here. It's important for all of us. Can you talk a little bit about the next generation? Next October is great, but we need to think about the children, how they're educated, what they're going to be doing with everything that we know about what happened in October. So I know, Eyal, you've done a lot with Gaza and with the Palestinians. You still see future for that as far as the education is concerned?
I was going to ask you, talking about education in Gaza or education in Israel? So, I believe, and I've said this in multiple places and forums, we need to bring the Emirati education system into Gaza. I think the Emiratis have changed their education system, I think, more than 10 years ago to a much more advanced education system. And we should just do copy the Emirati education system and bring it to Gaza. I think we should bring a mandate of 5, 6 countries to take responsibility over Gaza education, and no artillery and no rockets from Gaza. Everything else, we need to be the technocrat government inside. But I think education is very important. That's the number one thing that may solve the conflict in a generation or so. In Israel, I think I'm not talking about the Haredi problem, I mean the Orthodox problem, I'm talking about the regular. So I think we should continue focus on excellence, we should continue focus on technology, and just make sure that we have, obviously on integrity, no corruption, and we need to have also improve our education system. I think we need to bring more people from abroad to teach in Israel for sabbaticals, for their postdoc, and that way we actually increase our education diversification in Israel. So there's a lot of things we can do, and we're starting to do some of this in multiple fields of education.
Yes. Oh, sorry. Yeah, please go ahead.
Thank you. In the recent years, we've seen an immense decrease in the number of companies that are establishing in Israel. And this will impact Israel in about 10 years immensely. And I wondered what should we do now in order to change this and have more companies coming home, starting home, more venture capitals, putting their money in the country, especially after.
Okay, I'm told to repeat your question, a good question. There is a decline in the number of companies incorporated in Israel, and I would add to this, there is a decline in the number of companies established overall that have some sort of a presence or operations in Israel. What do we do about this? I'll take a quick stab on this. First of all, as I said, we don't have any other options. So we have to establish new companies. Entrepreneurs are coming back from the battlefield with great ideas, great courage, and they do take responsibility, as do their partners, investors, and anybody else from the ecosystem. We need to keep on moving. As it so happened during the 1991 recovery from the Gulf War, remember we were attacked and threatened by chemical weapons, no less than that. As it so happened during the Intifada, as it happened during or post the Second Lebanese War, 2008 and so on, we need to go about this crisis by establishing new companies, new ventures, and yes, by also establishing or stabilizing the Israeli ecosystem so that more and more entrepreneurs and investors alike feel comfortable about incorporating in Israel. I myself think this is just, a response or reaction to all kinds of conditions. 2 or 3 years out, your questions will be changed, hopefully, to a more balanced situation where many companies will still be established in Israel, incorporated in Israel for all kinds of good reasons, by the way, which the government also has to support and provide. Taxation breaks and so on, all kinds of regulations that the government can help us with in order to make it worthwhile to establish a company in Israel. Last question, because I do have another question to Eyal. Please, go ahead.
So I wanted to ask, the October 7th event have been a hugely disruptive events, right? In any measure, and at any level. And I'm just wondering, and I know, and I want to ask this in the most sensitive way because I know that both of you are bereaved parents. Do you, from where you are, do you see any good stemming out of these horrible, horrific events? And if so, can you shed a light on this? Can you kind of share this with us? Can you give us all a sense of direction, of what good things may come?
So the question was, after October 7th, do we see something positive coming out of it? So yes, I think every crisis is an opportunity to improve. I want to give you just a simple example. October 73, Egypt was our #1 enemy. And my father was second commander of a brigade of tanks, and he said, we'll never have peace with Egypt. He was wounded, he replaced 3 tanks. And in 1977, one guy, where the Egyptians did not support him, the Israelis did not trust him, and Sadat came, he said, I want to talk to your parliament, to the Knesset. And Begin was smart enough, and he said, you're invited, although he did not trust, he did not believe Sadat. And Sadat came, talked to the Knesset, and one guy made peace between the worst enemies of 1973. That was the largest crisis we ever had. So I hope now the largest crisis we've ever had was October 7th, that out of that will change the leadership on both sides, both in Israel and in the Palestinian side. I think we now need to take Riyadh instead of Rafah. I think we need get closer to the Saudis. I think the normalization between Saudi and Israel is very significant to open the gates of normalization with the Arab world, with the Muslim world. I'll even dream further. I hope that within 4-6 years, the Saudis will take us also to Tehran as our proxy. I don't think we can talk to them directly first. And October 7 may be the opportunity to find a way to change the Middle East completely and find a way to coexist between the Israelis, the Palestinians, and the Arab world, Saudi, Malaysia, Indonesia, all of the other Muslim worlds. And that would be the best thing. So I think this crisis, personal for at least 3 families here that lost their 2 sons and daughter, could be an opportunity to make a big difference. And I hope we will find the right leaderships to do that.
And I will add to that, excellent question. I think that one of the very positive things that I see and we all see around is those young people coming back from wherever they served over the last 6 months and taking responsibility, stating, as all did here on stage a couple of hours ago, that they will take responsibility, they will consider going into either public service or politics, which for high-tech people was always sort of the worst option of all of them. So when I see those young people coming back and saying, no more, this is not going to continue anymore, I'm personally taking responsibility, that makes me somehow optimistic, and I do see this as a significant change in the state of mind of many people who are able and capable of taking that responsibility. Ruby here raised his hand. Ruby. And I should say, though, I presented you earlier, my apologies, Hagit is also here, Itai, Chen's mom. Thank you for joining us. Itai and Ruby, please, Ruby.
I just want to say that I'd like to look each one of you in the eye and challenge each and every one of you. The state of Israel, it needs help. It needs help mostly in the public sector. And we need good people to forget about their daily business, and they need to come and help Israel go back on the path that it was 20, 30 years ago. This community has been too much dedicated to making money. We have the ultimate sacrifice. But what we need now, good people, get Israel where it was. So I'm looking at everyone and challenging each and every one of you guys. What could you do to help us pull the ship back to where it's supposed to be. Thank you.
So just before we are done, this connects actually to our last theme of optimism. Give me, because I know how difficult it is. Because I know how difficult it is to wake up each morning and decide to go out of bed. Give me your personal, positive, good reason to wake up in the morning and to get out of bed and to do whatever you want to do.
So first, I think there's a lot to be done, and we need to do. But I'm sure that Daniel and Noam, and I'm sure also Noni and Itai would have wanted us all to continue living, to live our lives to whatever we can, continue enjoy lives. They would have never wanted us to hurt because of them. So thinking that that's what they would have wanted, I just do when we need to do, we just do for them and for what they would have wished. So that fills me with a lot of energy to do things.
Amen to this, and I would only add to this shortly that we learned as a family to focus very much on what we have and what is there out for us to reach out to and to live for, not only to look backwards on our terrible loss, which we miss dearly forever, but also to keep our optimism and the outlook for what is coming up for all of us in the future. And there's a lot of happiness and a lot of good stuff that is awaiting all of us. And this is what keeps me out of bed every morning, although it is some sort of a struggle. Thank you very much, Eyal Waldman.
Thank you.